If you're in that position right now where things are bad and they seem to be getting worse in spite of your prayers, Exodus 5 is for you. Hello, my friends. Welcome back to Embrace the Question. My name is Steve, and I am your tour guide through Genesis and Exodus so far. We are in our 5th chapter of Exodus. Exodus 3 and 4 are pretty famous because the conversation is taking place in front of a burning bush. Sometimes when you read through Exodus 4, you forget that we're still standing in front of the burning bush at this time. So Exodus 5, however, now the plan is being put into place. Moses and Aaron they've made their way back to Egypt. They're going to stand before Pharaoh here. The title of this that I've chosen is From Bad to Worse. Have you ever been in a situation that was just horrible and you pray about it and you feel like the Lord hears your prayer and is going to shift your situation and things get worse? Has that ever happened to you? I think that's probably happened to a lot of us. And the truth is our initial response is, God, what are you doing? Why is this happening? Are you really hearing me? Or are you just out to get me? What have I done to deserve this? That's our reaction. And that's what we are seeing here in Exodus 5. So if you're in that position right now where things are bad and they seem to be getting worse in spite of your prayers, Exodus 5 is for you, because that's the view that we can take to realize, even though things are getting worse, things are about to improve. They always say the night is darkest before the dawn, right? Have you heard that old saying? It's pretty dark right here in Egypt. So let's take a look and see what these guys are going through. All right, before we start, please take a moment, look at the notes below the video. There's vital information in there about supporting the channel. Please subscribe if you haven't. Love to do this journey with you. But also there's another link in there about ordering some coffee, solwaycoffee.com. You can see it in the little window here, but these are bags I have consumed, right? You'll notice that one of my support links is buy me a coffee. I like coffee, but Solway coffee is good. It's good. Grab you a bag, solwaycoffee.com. Support the kingdom cause. Okay. Exodus 5, verse 1. Afterward, Moses and Aaron went and said to Pharaoh, "Thus says the Lord, the God of Israel, let my people go, that they may hold a feast to me in the wilderness." But Pharaoh said, "Who is the Lord that I should obey his voice and let Israel go? I do not know the Lord, and moreover, I will not let Israel go." This, to me, this is, I think, written in retrospect by Moses, who is penning the history, right? He's probably near the end of his life. He's writing the story. He's not doing this as he goes. His impression of this interaction with Pharaoh is that Pharaoh is just insolent. He is, I guess you would expect that from a king, a bit of arrogance, a bit of pride, especially from a pagan king. But Pharaoh here, the tone of his voice is, "I don't know your God. And once more, I'm not letting you go." So that's Pharaoh. That's Moses' impression of Pharaoh. He's just all about himself, right? He's overconfident, I think, is what Moses wants us to get out of this. So verse 3, then they said, "The God of the Hebrews has met with us. Please let us go a 3 days journey into the wilderness, that we may sacrifice to the Lord our God, lest he fall upon us with pestilence or with the sword. Okay, interesting verse. Moses and Aaron are trying the diplomatic approach. One thing that Egypt understands, one thing that Pharaoh claims to understand, are the gods. You want to appease the gods. Even a pagan king wants to appease his gods. And the reason that he wants to do that is to avoid the wrath of those gods. So Moses and Aaron are kind of in a roundabout way appealing to a sense of religiosity to a pagan king, but they know that he is at least supposed to be religious. Pharaoh has, though, set himself up as God on earth, King of Kings, Lord of Lords in Egypt. That is basically his persona. I am God on earth to my people. So Moses and Aaron are trying to hit him with some, hey, if you don't take care of the God's wishes, then they get angry and bad things happen. You could lose your workforce, Pharaoh. This, of course, is not going to work. But they also mention, let us go a 3 days journey into the wilderness. I find that I latch onto that immediately as symbolism. Why 3 days? Why not 2 days? What about 4 days? 3 days, if you read a little bit, some commentators say, well, 3 days wilderness journey into the wilderness should just about clear them of Egypt. They could basically leave Egypt 3 days away, and that's a good thought. And I'm sure that's what Pharaoh is thinking. He's like, I'm not going to let you go 3 days, because 3 days I won't be able to catch you before you are in enemy territory, and I won't be able to pursue you. Okay, 3 days, but symbolically speaking, 3 days is the point of no return. It's the difference between the crucified Jesus and the resurrected Jesus. 3 days is the difference. So in 3 days, everything is changed. There's complete freedom. There's a complete move from death to life in 3 days. So we're seeing it embedded here in a story. I don't think by accident. I don't think Moses really understood it. I think God was giving him the 3 days instruction, and Moses was just following instructions. Okay? Verse 4. But the king of Egypt said to them, Moses and Aaron, why do you take the people away from their work? Get back to your burdens. And Pharaoh said, behold, the people of the land are now many, and you make them rest from their burdens. The same day, Pharaoh commanded the taskmasters of the people and their foremen, which were Hebrew, you shall no longer give the people straw to make bricks, as in the past. Let them go and gather straw for themselves. Now, we've talked about this briefly, but anytime you talk about making bricks becomes the symbol for slavery because of this. It really started at Babel when they began to build a tower from hewn stone, okay, large bricks. But it really gets its legs here. Brick making, slavery. Bricks, uniformity. Uniformity, bad. Uniformity does not mean freedom. Now we're into the communist discussion. You cannot be uniform and be free. If I have to be like my neighbor, then I have restrictions. He has restrictions. My neighbor across the street has restrictions in order to make us the same. Bricks. And it's used by powers to build something. It looks and appears formidable on the outside. It's a brick structure, but ultimately, it will never be as strong as it could be because it's just mud that's been baked. Okay. Huge discussion point here about bricks. The straw is the rebar for their concrete. That's what they're using to make the bricks strong. So now all of a sudden, no straw. We have to find our own straw. Things are going from bad to worse. The people have complained. They've cried out to God. God says, I've heard their voice. He's mobilized their salvation already. It's about to happen, but things have gone from bad to worse. So we're not giving the people straw anymore. You have to get your own, and we will not change your requirement for the day. Verse 8. But the number of bricks that they made in the past you shall impose on them. You shall by no means reduce it, for they are idle. Therefore they cry, let us go and offer sacrifice to our God. So the quota is the same, even though they have to go and find their own straw now. Things have gotten a lot worse. We have to still meet our quota, but we have to find the materials in the process. Verse 9, let heavier work be laid on the men that they may labor at it and pay no regard to lying words. See what he's doing? He's taking the leaders, he's taking the muscle, and he's putting all the heaviest, most miserable work on them so they can't even consider what he's calling the lies of Moses and Aaron, which puts in them this idea that, maybe we can revolt if given the chance. So that's what Pharaoh is thinking. We'll just make them so encumbered that they can't even think. So the taskmasters and the foremen of the people went out and said to the people, thus says Pharaoh, I will not give you straw. Go and get your straw yourselves wherever you can find it, but your work will not be reduced in the least. So the people were scattered throughout all the land of Egypt to gather stubble for straw. Bad to worse. Verse 13. The taskmasters were urgent, saying, complete your work, your daily task each day, as when there was straw. And then the foremen of the people of Israel, whom Pharaoh's taskmasters had set over them, were beaten and were asked, why have you not done all your task of making bricks today and yesterday, as in the past? Then the foremen of the people of Israel came and cried to Pharaoh, why do you treat your servants like this? No straw is given to your servants, yet they say to us, make bricks. And behold, your servants are beaten, but the fault is in your own people. I figure that there is a lot to this story that isn't written. It's implied. If people are basically roaming the countryside of Egypt looking for straw, they have a certain amount of freedom, don't they? You might ask yourself, well, why don't they just run away? Because they're not all free to do this. Their loved ones are very much in bondage under the watchful eye of taskmasters. So I am guessing their families are sent out to gather straw for their men, for their sons, their brothers, so that they can get their work done and sleep at night. Otherwise, who knows? They're beaten to death. Bad stuff. So the people can't run away, is the point. There's a lot being said here or implied that is not written. Verse 17. But he said, Pharaoh said, you are idle, you are idle. That is why you say, let us go and sacrifice to the Lord. Go now and work. No straw will be given you, but you must still deliver the same number of bricks. The foremen of the people of Israel saw that they were in trouble when they said, you shall by no means reduce your number of bricks, your daily task each day. Okay, I want to stop there. There is a spirit of religion that does this very same thing to people even today. Religion I'm not talking about a good thing. I'm talking about a spirit that makes you feel like there is always something more you need to be doing in order to be accepted by God. That's what I mean by a religious spirit or a spirit of religion. That spirit is evil and is wanting to destroy you. He's wanting to take all of your freedom, all of your rest, all of your peace away. So if you find yourself in an organization that never makes you feel like you've done enough, then you are under this same taskmaster. There is no way that it lets up. You never feel like you have done enough, which is why you're always working to appease God when God has basically said, I have done all the work for you. I have paid the price. Jesus says, take my yoke on you. It's easy and my burden's light. You don't have to work for this. All you have to do is let me do the work. So it's the opposite. It's an antichrist spirit, you see, this spirit of religion. That's what's being written about here by Moses. Okay, we can continue. Verse 20, they, the foremen, met Moses and Aaron, who were waiting on them as they came out from Pharaoh. And they said to them, the Lord look on you and judge, because you have made us stink in the sight of Pharaoh and his servants, and have put a sword in their hand to kill us. Then Moses turned to the Lord and said, O Lord, why have you done evil to this people? Why did you ever send me? For since I came to Pharaoh to speak in your name, all he has done is evil to this people. And you have not delivered your people at all. Okay. This is very much the way Moses was throughout his tenure as leader of this nation. Every time they turned on him, every time they blamed him, he turns immediately to God. And usually in the most humble of ways, he falls on his face. He rends his clothes. He says, Lord, why? Why is it working this way? They want to kill me. You have brought great evil on this people. That's an honesty, isn't it? You have to know the Lord to pour your soul out in that way. It's the same way David poured his soul out to God. It's like, Lord, why are all my enemies prospering? And here I am running for my life. Every day is a struggle just to survive, and you make all of my enemies victorious, it seems. God doesn't mind if you scream at the top of your lungs to him. He doesn't mind. He can take it. He's very big. He is very big. He understands you. He understands me. If you have to yell and scream and cry and grit your teeth, he says, I've got big, broad shoulders. Why don't you come beat on them? Because he and he alone wants us to disarm our fears and our frustrations. And he wants to be the agent, but he also wants us to mature through that and realize, I'm still working. Just be patient. That's why the fruit of the Spirit, love, joy, peace, patience. Patience is so important. That spirit he's given us, so important. Nobody likes to learn patience. And this whole book of Exodus is just a story about an exercise in patience. Hold on, because even though things have been bad and they seem to be getting worse, you're about to have a breakthrough. That's a word for somebody. You're about to have a breakthrough. Okay? That's the story of Exodus 5. Hope you've enjoyed it. I enjoyed going through it. A little bit shorter of a chapter, but still good. Lots of lessons. All right. Hope you guys have a great week. I'll see you next week. We'll do Exodus chapter 6. Peace. Blessings.